pleading with the police to make their accounts, the content of their account known to us. How much do they have that they can buy AK-47 and go with it? If they are not the ones that bought this AK-47, who bought it and handed it over to them? That person should be held accountable and responsible. You cannot have violence anywhere if you do not have conflict merchants. And for too long in this country, we have shielded the conflict merchants, we have protected the conflict merchants, we have even arrogated some power and authority to conflict merchants, and they are profiting from conflict in this country, whether it is electoral conflict, whether it is economic conflict, whether it is communal conflict, whether it is insurgency. But it is the work of very, very unpatriotic and wicked conflict merchants that we are witnessing as violence, either during elections, post-elections, or as we run our country. These conflict merchants must be exposed. These conflict merchants must be brought to book. These conflict merchants must be made to pay for bringing sorrow to our family and bringing a bad name to this country and cutting the lives of very promising young people short. If you kill a youth copper, there is nothing as sacrilegious as that. The parents must have spent money over a very long period of time to train that young man with a potential. That young man may even be somebody whose potential could have changed even the course of the development of this country. You've cut it short. And then you sit down, and you sit down in your parlor, drink and take your food and drink and feel you are comfortable. I think that is unacceptable.
I can see you're feeling this. It's so painful.
It's painful
as a man. Now, I have a mother who is in the house, and a politician, by the way. We're talking about lives of these young ones being lost. With this case happening repeatedly, would you still subscribe that the INEC still use these guys who are forming the bulk of ad hoc staff of the electoral body?
It's a very sad thing to me, it takes 9 good months. We know what we go through as women to be able to birth one child. And so one life means so much, and in 1 minute it's snuffed out because one person wants to occupy a position. It's disgusting. It's not debatable. The issue of violence is worrisome, and it's got to stop. And the truth at the end of the day is that if we don't have examples on the table, if we don't have people who are brought to book and they are made as examples, it will not stop. And so the issue of the youth corpers being drafted into elections, I have always said, it is my personal opinion, that it's a little bit, they are young people. They are not, sometimes they see it as, it's a risk. Somebody's got to die anyway, anyhow, and they weigh the options and the allowances and all that, and they are probably not going to know the level of risk. It could be risk-free, or it could be high risk, So we should actually revisit the issue of, drafting them. Much as we don't want to stop that opportunity, as it were, for them, but if they must be drafted, there must be special provision for them, foolproof provision for them, for their lives, because they are young. They're the ones that we have that are supposed to take over the process. And so if all of this, we keep seeing them slain on the floor, I can't even fathom where we are going to go as a nation. So that's a no-no for me. We can't continue as a nation allowing the young people's blood to litter our streets. It's not a possibility. We should revisit the process. It's not just about giving them letter and saying with that letter they can go and collect money. So when they see letter of appointment, sometimes last election we have seen them sleeping on the ground, and logistics have been provided for them, but we see them sleeping on the ground. So let's get it right too. Logistics being provided is different from implementation, and they are being sure of where they are going to stay and the security. So that's a national issue. That's a national problem. We should take it seriously, because lives are involved. Lives are involved. As much as I say this too, I still go back to say that more lives will be lost when we have the wrong people in government. The implication of leaving governance to the wrong people is too dear for us to now say we don't want to. Maybe sometimes when we are saying, sometimes some of the things we say it to encourage people to participate, because it is very important. Like now, when nightfall comes now, collation begins. So if everybody becomes scared and runs away from collation center, then the wrong people will have their way. But if we have the right security, and we know that we have security, and as we are here, we are calling for reinforced security. Those who are on ground are calling for, to be sure, we are monitoring the process. Then those who have you have party agents, there are so many chains along the line. You have observers, independent observers who have gone there, who are staking their life. I know many of them during the last general elections, people were locked up in cages in the River Rhine. They were dead. It's a thankless job. And then that brings me to we are a sovereign state. When we say independent foreign observers, I'm sorry, Jide, we are a sovereign state, and they are not independent. Many of them come from pharmaceutical companies that are interested in testing their pharmaceutical products in Africa. Others have interests about homosexuality and they want to influence our bills. Yet others have other interests that they are interested in our parliament. So even politicians have less interest than the international community. And like he said, we are not invited to observe their elections. So we are not invited to observe. I'm not holding brief that we shouldn't allow them. But we should even be more conscious of our independent observers who have a stake, who the price of gari and tomato tomorrow is determined by this election. So they have a higher stake, and there are lots of them. And then you find that many too are sitting in the situation room. Please, let us be conscious of those who are following to collation center. Let us be conscious of the security of the coppers, the security of those who go to monitor the collation centers, the critical stakeholders who ensure that this process comes out to give us what we want, even if those baby steps, while we are still hammering on what we should be doing and where we should be getting to. So I must close with the issue of violence. My heart bleeds. Every mother's heart bleeds in this country. Every youth, every father, for every single person. And these are lives that are avoidable. There's no excuse, and the buck ends at the security personnel's hands. You have been deployed. It is your responsibility. Saying that, we got there late is not an excuse. Please, we don't want loss of lives in any way. Nobody's ambition is worth it.
Exactly. That has been said repeatedly in this country, that any mandate is not worth the life of any body in this country. We should not be losing lives while we conduct elections. I'm coming to Jide Ojo now. We're talking about this violence coming election in, elections out. From 2019, you are also a journalist, you're a columnist. Do you have any record of these perpetrators who were arrested in their tens, hundreds, prosecuted up to this moment?
Osba, I wish I have. 3 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, I was privileged to be invited to CSO stakeholder meeting with the INEC, with the Electoral Management Body, last month, I think last week of last month. And the question was put to the INEC chairman about how many prosecutions have we had. It really interests you to know that the only one I can recollect was one person who was allegedly prosecuted by EFCC for vote buying in Gombe. Just one. According to INEC chairman, they've just received some case files from the Nigerian police, because this is the way it works. And that's why we need the Electoral Offences Commission and Tribunal.
Exactly. Separately.
No, separately. No. INEC has power to prosecute, but does not have power to effect arrest or investigate. So the power of arrest and investigation lies with Nigerian police and other security agencies. In fact, Nigerian police is the lead agency for election security. So even if you are apprehended by the DSS or NSCDC or or DLEA or whoever is helping with the electoral process, you are handed over to police. It's the police that will now investigate, and then when police has concluded their investigation, the case files will now be transferred to INEC for prosecution. Now, it has taken almost 6 months for at least INEC to receive some batches of case files. Now, it is now for the commission to take over and start filing charges, depending on what's in each person's case files. If they said prima facie case has been established, this person actually committed the offense for which he was arrested, then the commission will charge the person to court. But then the commission have barely 200 lawyers in its employment. So out of 16,500, assuming without considering that there are even 500, can all of them be deployed to go to court? Some of these cases are high-profile cases. Recall that Yaya Bello, that is on the ballot today, was accused by INEC of double registration, which is a criminal offense. Of course, INEC said for that, it's not part of the condition for disqualification. So for that reason, the commission does not have power to even... In fact, the court has said that INEC cannot disqualify. Otherwise, Natasha Akpoti should not have been on the ballot because it's a party fielded an underage running mate. And by the time they realized that the guy is 34, they made a change outside, from what I garnered from press report, outside of the time for substitution. Which is why the SDP went to court, and eventually the court ruled that yes, even if there are issues around disqualification, INEC does not have the administrative power to wield that stick. It has to come to the court to get an injunction to bar that person. Which is why two cases were judged in favor of some disqualified candidate just last week, because it was only 9 days to election that Natasha Akpoti was reinstated. And you know what that cost the country? INEC has to go and reprint the ballot papers and the result sheets. And the result sheets is about 5. EC81, E60. Look at the resources we are wasting.
Same situation in Bayelsa State.
So you now have just on the election 2 court judgments within 1 week saying the running mate to APC is filed false information, is disqualified. The primary that led to the emergence of David Lion is faulty, and the APC does not have candidate. It took the appeal court's injunction for stay of execution for the situation to go back to status quo, creating an atmosphere of confusion and uncertainty. So what we are saying invariably is that it's still a long way to freedom, electoral freedom in Nigeria. For me, Musbah, election should not just be an hollow ritual. We should not. That's why I'm not commending anything positive with election, because some people are paid to do the right thing. If you do the right thing, I should not be commending you. That you are looking beautiful, you are supposed to look beautiful. Every woman being should take good care of their health, isn't it, Oga? So if you are doing well, you are supposed to do well. You cannot, as a governor, give me road and I will be applauding you, because it's not your personal fund you use in constructing those roads. But when you misbehave, I should be able to excoriate you. I should be able to condemn you if you don't live up to expectation. Because even the Holy Book said, when you spare the rod, you spoil the child. If you continue to massage people's ego and say, you know what, we are making baby step in 20 years. If you have an imbecile as a child, would you be glad? Somebody who is above teenage is saying, will you be proud to show that kind of child to your visitor? So the point is, we need to have overcome so many teething problems that is still manifesting in our electoral process 20 years down the line. So I'm not even glamorizing international community. What is their stake in Nigeria? The entire budget support of international community is less than 1% of Nigerian investment in elections. The Nigerian government in 2019 elections supported INEC and security agencies with 242 billion. The entire portfolio, the entire support of all the EU, USAID, UK aid, all the Japan embassies and of this world is not up to 1 billion. So if your own country can support you with 242 billion, the point is, as a Nigerian, as a compatriot, there should be value for that money. And when I don't see value for money, it bleeds my heart. Because election is getting costlier, but the value of those elections is not seen. And we cannot continue along this trajectory. Somebody said there is no far you go on a bad road. If you don't come back and retrace your step, you will lead to nowhere. If you're on a wrong track and you say, you know what, I've gone so far, I can't go back, then where do you want to end? You need to retrace your step and say, look, if we continue along this trajectory, another all-cycle election is coming up in Edo next year. Should we be sitting around this same table?
Ondo State.
Ondo State in 2021, then Anambra State in 2022, or Ekiti and Osho in 2022. Should we be making the same excuses and say, look, you know what? There's no perfect election everywhere. We must strive towards that perfection. And that is why, if all we are talking about is, isolated, really isolated instances, I will understand. But for many places where election is starting 2 hours behind schedule, it's inexcusable. Because the assurances that we have been given, I had the reason when he said, yes, I know that. I've been listening. I'm part of I receive a lot of information from the electoral management body through their media networks. They said in Bayelsa, what we are doing different this time around is that we are bypassing the local government in terms of deployment. So instead of materials leaving CBN to go to local government before it goes to which is what they call RA, registration area, or RAC, registration area center, where you stay, where the coppers will sleep over to enable them get to their polling units early enough. INEC decided this time around to deploy directly to those RACs, bypassing the local government, all in a bid to do what? To achieve early commencement of voting. So if in spite of that, you now have widespread late commencement, 8:55, 9, 10, 20, when the election is supposed to start by 8. So if you do your scenario building very well, there is no law that compares you. It's not written anywhere in the Electoral Act that election must be between 8 and 2. Do you understand? INEC could say, look, we are going to have this election between 10 and 4 p.m. to enable us get our materials to produce. So you then inform the people, and the people will not come too early in the day, because they know that today is for voting in those 2 states. So you have that opportunity to say, look, our analysis, our planning shows that we may encounter, because as I've said on other platform, the first 2 sets of elections that Professor Mahmoud Yakubu's administration in INEC conducted in 2015 was Bayelsa and Kogi elections, November 21 and December 5. Am I communicating? Yeah. So you had that baptism of fire. You may well say, look, I inherited this because the commission was inaugurated on 11th of November. So barely 2-3 weeks into having come in, this date had been set by Jega administration and all the planning have been done. So it's just to conclude the execution. But you have 4 years of learning, and then you have just last 6 months a general election conducted in those same environment, and you know what played out, and all observer report, at least as at the time we met with the INEC leadership, they told us that 47% of accredited observers have submitted their observation reports to the commission, and the chairman used that opportunity to call for those who are here to bring their report, that they are studying those reports. So if you study those reports, and I know for certain, not that I was told, I know INEC also deploys its own monitors on election day like this. What have we learned? So if, as at yesterday, you are giving me 100% assurances that, look, don't worry less. This time around, things are going to be a lot different. And I come on election day, and then I'm getting field reports that, you know what, I mean, according to Yaga, in Bayelsa, only 25% of polling units open as at 7:30. 25%. Can we celebrate that? You are supposed to open polls. Actually, you as poll observers, as poll workers, you are supposed to be at your polling unit an hour before the commencement of voting, so that you set up. So if 25% opened for voting in Bayelsa as at 7:30 in the morning, then that's not a pass mark in terms of logistic deployment. In Kogi, it was 54%. That is still an average performance. So, at what point in future, in the nearest future, will we get it to the level that opening of poll will be at least 97-99% on election day? So if INEC said their scenario building is to deploy directly to RAC rather than through local government, from local government to RAC, and we are still having this. So at what point will we now say, you know what, I can take our next work to the bank and believe them 100%? So I don't want to continue to make these excuses that, you know what, yeah, we are making progress. I will say that to make some people feel good, but I will never be happy with the desperate attitude of politicians who care less about how they get to power. You should care more about what people say you know, there is what is called legitimacy. When in 2007, late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua was inaugurated on May 29. You need to go and read the speech. His inaugural speech after his swearing in. It pained him that even though he was a beneficiary, he said that, look, the election that brought me to power is flawed. And you can see the urgency with which he attached to electoral reform. Did you know that it was on August 27, 2007? What is May 29 and August 27? Is that up to 3 months? That's barely 3 months after coming to power. He set up the Waste Committee, who sat for 16 months. 16.
To reform the electoral process, coming up with far-reaching recommendations. Jega was part of that 22